Hi, this is Katie with Paint Polish Design, and today I have something really special for you. So today is the 1-year anniversary of the day I started my 1-year challenge to draw daily. And I have for you a selection of 365 illustrations that I created over the past year for this Draw Daily challenge. So this is going to be kind of embarrassing and kind of fun. To look through all of these illustrations. Consider it sort of my sketchbook tour as we look through these. So a little background. I started out this year believing I had no talent for drawing whatsoever. If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that the full story is that I started this as something fun to do with my husband. And it was very fun to enjoy the first couple of months drawing with my husband. And I thought I'd be supportive and, if I can do it, he can do it, putting our drawings online on social media. So I started that July 1st, 2016, and here it is a year later, 6/30/2017 at 10 o'clock at night. I am recording this video, and I never dreamed I would be where I am now. So what you're seeing, starting from day one, are some really rough illustrations where we're at now. However, I learned so much doing these illustrations. You'll see some pages from my travel journal from my trip with my sister last July. That was a lot of fun, and it was very educational. Being able to draw that diverse of landscapes and trees and buildings and people and monuments, depending on where we went that day. That was really neat to boil our day down to a page in my travel journal. I'm really looking forward to doing something like that in the future. Along with that, you see a lot of animals and people as I'm trying to practice how I express things like fur and hair and fish. Yes, you can express a whole fish. So it's just really fun to kind of look back and see. And I have to say, there are things in these early illustrations where I wonder, why don't I still express things that way? Why don't I still draw hair that way or draw somebody's hand that way? There are certain things that I believe I'll probably look back and want to recapture that stage in my artistic development. However, about this point, you start seeing maybe 1 in every 4 illustrations is really a strong illustration, and starting to really understand how the human body works. You'll see in those first 100 days, there's some sketches, pencil sketches where we did figure drawing, and that was really fun. My husband and I did that for about a month. Every couple of days we would do a timed figure drawing session. There's some videos on YouTube that have them all timed out and give you a really good challenge, and it is really challenging. So that was really educational. I learned a lot from doing that about the human form and anatomy, and that really has helped me. I would love to do more of that this next year. So let's talk about year 2. I do not plan to stop this daily challenge. This was just too much fun. I'm ready for another year. So what is my plan? I'm thinking I want to do some bigger, more beautiful illustrations. I really want to do larger pieces and more complex pieces. So I'm really going to try and build on what I did in year 1. I ended up operating with this plan that I would draw during weekdays when I had work and other obligations. I would do ink sketches, And then on the weekend, I would choose one or two of those ink sketches to watercolor. And that seemed to work very, very well, because not only could I cherry pick which illustrations to watercolor, which led to a body of work that I'm very, very happy with when it comes to watercolor. But it also meant that I didn't have that level of stress on weeknights that I needed to complete an entire watercolor illustration. So it allowed me to really do some complex, usually 8 by 10, sometimes larger illustrations over the weekend with existing material that I could build upon. So I really hope to do more of that for year 2. I have some ideas for some much more complex illustrations, and my plan is to maybe not draw the entire illustration in one evening, but draw components of that illustration over the course of a week and then build it together and watercolor it over the weekend. We'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure there will still be evenings where I'll draw fish, because that's what I do when I'm really tired, is I draw fish. So what else did I learn over the course of the year? Well, a couple things. I really need to be patient with myself. I tend to feel like I work really hard at things and I should nail it on the very first try, and that does not always happen. It has been nice to have the opportunity between an ink drawing and a watercolor to make upgrades to illustrations to fix things that I didn't like so much. I also need to remember that mistakes in illustrations may be very apparent to me, but they're not always very apparent to other people, and sometimes that's okay. I've learned to live with some of my illustrations that have actually been quite popular with people who buy my art, but maybe aren't my favorite illustration because there are certain things that I envision differently in them. I also learned that all of those skills years ago that I learned playing with watercolors as a kid with my grandmother's professional watercolor set really have paid off. I actually started doing the watercolor illustrations more to feel like there was something I knew something about. I had never done ink drawing when I started this challenge, and I hit a point where I felt really dumb. I really knew nothing about what I was trying to accomplish, and adding watercolors in the mix was a way for me to feel like I had control over a piece of it. I had knowledge, I had something to contribute. But I never expected for it to become such a big part of this challenge. When I started out, I think I was doing a watercolor maybe a month. It's pretty sparse those first few months. But then as things picked up, I got to the point where I was doing them almost once a week, sometimes twice a week. And they really became a big part of what I was doing. There will always be some illustrations that I like just how they are in ink. I am not one who believes that an illustration has to be in color to be complete. But there are some illustrations that I think are much stronger in color. And generally I think those are the ones I choose to watercolor, that I feel like there's something missing that could be added by some color. I really have learned a lot about doing watercolor this last year, especially the strength of between tube paints and pan paints. I had never used pan paints before. I know that's kind of crazy because that's usually what kids start out with, but as a kid, because my grandmother had given me these great supplies, I used tube paints from a very early age, and so I really didn't know when I bought my first set of pans how to use those. So that was really fun to discover, and you'll see in some of my other time-lapse videos that that's something that I do a lot for, especially there's certain backgrounds, especially sky. There's one particular pan I just love using for sky. It always turns out this beautiful, soft, mottled blue, and I really enjoy using it for that. So they all have their different strengths, and I think that reflects us artists as well. We all have our different strengths, and I'm still working on things. I think that my ink drawings have gone from, I probably liked about half when I started out, and now even of those, there's a lot of them that I'm not very happy with. But lately, probably about 1 in 3 I'm happy with, and I think that's a pretty good ratio for an artist. About half of those that are left are ones that I believe are fixable. I can see what the problems are, and if I were to redraw them, I would be able to fix that very easily. So, thank you to everybody who has supported me along the way. This has been an insane year. I cannot believe I'm at this point doing YouTube videos, sharing my artistic life with you all, selling prints and cards and all sorts of fun things, and displaying all around my local town. And it's just been a really great experience for year 1, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that year 2 will bring. So, a couple of things. If you haven't already heard, I have a huge celebration going on Patreon this month, and any level of Patreon will receive a special gift from me. And that includes even my dollar level of patrons, and I will be mailing out mid-July a celebratory mini original to each person. So I'm thinking something between 4x6 or 5x7, not too many, but a fun thank you anyhow for your support. So be sure to check that out. As always, you can check out pinkpolishdesign.com for all of my prints and my portfolio and all sorts of fun information as to where I'll be here locally in Olympia and Lacey in the next few months. I've got quite a few shows scheduled at this point. And then lastly, a special thank you to my family. It's been an incredible year, but it's required an incredible amount of patience from them. So thank you to my husband and my 4 kids for their patience and support and words of encouragement. And thank you to all of those of you who have bought art for me this last year and allowed me to continue on this journey. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you in year 2.